How do you define success?
I'll answer that in two parts. I'll answer it in life.
Okay.
I think success is really just being happy with yourself and being confident of who you are, and as a person, as a man or as a woman, you're happy with who you are, and don't take yourself too seriously. Laugh at yourself. Let people laugh at you, and that's okay. You're okay with that, and don't get hung up on all the little intricacies of life that could really bring people down. Just really be confident and comfortable with your own self as who you are. Secondly, in work, I would say success at work, the way I've kind of lived my life and my career at work is, and I would give this advice to anybody, is really work as if you own the company. And if you're the owner of a company, how would you want your employees to work? And whatever that answer is in your mind, work that way. You know, if you're an owner of a company, certainly you're going to want your employees to have a high work ethic. You're not going to want them to take 3-4 hour breaks a day. You're not going to want that. Work like you would want your employees to work at your workplace. And the other part of that is be selfless. You know, help people, help others. Let them help you. Don't be so proud that you think you know everything in the world, because you don't. You know, there's better people out there that know certain things about one category or the other that you can learn from. If you're so proud and who you are, and you're not going to let anybody else come in to teach you anything, you're not going to learn anything, and you're not going to get better. And so I'd really just be selfless, and then help others. And you're going to learn when you help others, and that's going to help you improve as a person. And if you're, you know, if you're helping people out, that's going to get your name out there, and you're going to get a reputation as a person that really gets things done.
Hi everyone, we are here with John Ottman, an engineering manager at Intel Corporation Hillsboro Oregon. John started his career with Intel after he graduated with a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Oregon Institute of Technology, after which he transitioned to a process engineer position. However, after some years of dedicated service, of hard work, of discipline, of being focused, and of selflessness, John became an engineering manager. He moved up the ladder in his career and became an engineering team manager. We are here today to learn from John's success story. So the fact that you actually started as a technician, right? You became a process engineer, right? And then an engineering team manager, managing PhDs, master's degree holders. How did you do it, John? What do you think was your motivation? What actually drive this thing? You know, you attaining all these positions.
For me personally, I didn't necessarily set out, this is what I want to do in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I didn't set that out. When I started in the semiconductor industry, I was a technician, like you said. And at first I didn't even know what that job meant. You know, I didn't know this equipment that I'm going to be working on and troubleshooting. But I did know that whatever it is, I'm going to try to be the best at it. And I really did try to do that. I came in here, I didn't know anything about semiconductor environment. And I would start troubleshooting tools, learning the tools. And if there was a problem that I didn't know how to tackle, I would grab manuals. I would talk to engineers. I would talk to field service engineers and pick their brain and help them help me, let them help me and educate me so I can get better. And as I just kept doing that, as the years went by, I slowly became the expert. And on all the shifts, I knew this equipment better than anybody. And my reputation just became, John knows this equipment better than anybody. And I would get phone calls at night or phone calls during the day, or people would come up to me, hey, can you help me with this or that? And that, you know, my reputation kind of was able to help me get into this engineering job. And when I was so confident with myself and my abilities, I decided to go for this engineering job, which, like you said, was you needed a master's degree or a PhD to become an engineer, and I wasn't even sure that I could qualify for that. But the hiring, I built a reputation for myself as a guy that knows how to do things and gets things done, that they interviewed me and they gave me a chance. And I had 3 interviews, and all 3 interviews were really heavy on equipment troubleshooting and just equipment know-how, and not necessarily a specific tool, but more in general theory of how this equipment works and how would you troubleshoot this problem or that problem. And I had 3 of those interviews, and they were really in depth of just really diving down to component level troubleshooting, and I knew that stuff, and they ended up offering me a job, and I became an equipment engineer. And I was in charge of PM procedures, response flow checklists, and advanced troubleshooting, maintenance specs and things like that, tool upgrades. And shortly after that, I became a process engineer in charge of, process layers where we're developing, some of the state-of-the-art processors that we have today. And, just even when I was an engineer, and I got the job, I became an engineer, and even as an engineer, I still had that same selfless attitude where I would help anybody that needed help with it. And I also assumed that I didn't know everything, far from it, and I would work hard at it, and I would ask for help, and just, and as an engineer, same mentality. I wanted to be the best engineer that I could. I had a lot of coworkers and stuff, which I had a lot of respect for, and they were great. I wanted to be better than all of them, and so I would really just buckle down and practice. One of my strengths was equipment troubleshooting, but my weakness at the time was like process knowledge and data analysis. I didn't go to school for 8-10 years getting my PhD and get all the data analysis skills that a lot of these PhD graduates have. I didn't have that. So I struggled with that a little bit, and I was slow at it. But I would practice. I would just chip away at it every day, or every night I'd come home and I would just start practicing. I always felt like I was behind because my coworkers are way better than me. And so I would practice, and then eventually my coworkers, the other engineers, these masters and PhD graduates, would come up to me and ask me for help. And that really gave me a sense of pride, and I'm doing it. I'm really contributing now. And it really wasn't like my manager telling me, you need to buckle down and do better. It was my own self.
You knew what you needed to do that. You knew you were not there yet, right?
Right. In my own mind, I felt I'm not contributing as high as these other advanced degree engineers, when really a lot of what I found out now is a lot of it's just your work ethic and your attitude and how much effort you want to put into it to compete. And then shortly after that, about 6 years after that, I became an engineering manager, and I managed these PhD and master's degree engineers.
Do you think a lot of people in the world are actually stuck at one job position or level for the rest of their life?
I don't know. It could be various reasons. It could be they don't think they can do anything else. Maybe their self-esteem is too low to think they can even do anything else, or maybe whatever I want to go do is going to cost a lot of money in schooling, and I don't have money, so I can't go do that. Or maybe life circumstances. Maybe somebody starts a family sooner in life than they planned, and that means they don't think they have the time to go to school and get a degree. Or I'm not sure, but it's something like that. But I would just say to those people, make it happen. If you want to change, if you want to make a change, do it. Make that change. Worst that can happen is that you fail, it doesn't work, and you go back to what you were doing before. And that's okay. Or you make another change until you can finally get success out of there. You're not going to make any change at all and succeed in anything if you don't try. And if it means that you have to go back to school to get a degree, do it. It may take you time. It may take you a lot of money. You may have to get a school loan and then make it happen and do it like one class at a time. And it might take you 8-10 years to get a degree. Take the time. Be patient. Finish that. And be proud of yourself that you did, and you're making that effort, and you're trying to make a change. And I would just say go for it.
What is your advice for these ones that are stagnant at work and want to really move up their career ladder?
If you want to move up, find out where you want to go in that company or your career, and what do I have to do to get there. And like I was saying before, is whatever you're doing currently, be the best at it. And you're going to, if you do that, you will become the best at it if you don't stop that attitude and that force for yourself to become the best, and you will get career opportunity, advancement, and things like that. Your manager, the owner of the company, they're going to notice who you are, and you're a guy that has a high work ethic, and I think you really just need to go for it and just put effort out there. It's not easy, but you have to really put effort and be the best you can at that job. And whether you're working at a fast food restaurant or whether you're washing cars for a living, if you're a fast food restaurant worker and you're at the line and you're chopping up lettuce or whatever, be the best guy at it. You know, chop lettuce faster than anybody else has ever chopped lettuce before at that fast food restaurant, and the supervisor on the shift is going to notice that, and he's going to put you in the drive-through, or however that chain works. And then when you're in the drive-through, be the most personable guy that you can to the customers that are in the drive-through. And these customers are going to hopefully come back and say, hey, whoever was working that drive-through was a fantastic human being. I want that guy to be around here more often. And just, you know, whatever it is, be the best, and success will happen, I think.
So what about the fact that we have a lot of people that are at the point of giving up in life due to failure, rejection? Like we said earlier at the beginning, that a lot of people, they want to be successful, right? But they are always afraid of failing. They are afraid of hearing no for an answer. So have you ever failed or rejected, or maybe you felt like giving up? Do you have a story that you probably want to tell us, you want us to know at one point in time that you felt like giving up, or you were failing, but then in the end you maybe summoned courage, or you kept moving and moving until you were able to overcome those failures or something? So is there any story you have like that you think has helped you not that you never gave up and you succeeded?
I will give that in two answers. I'll give a life example and I'll give a work example, if that's okay. And I'll give the work example first, because the life example is going to be a little tougher for me to say, because it's really personal to me. The work example, I would say I had one problem in particular on an equipment. I was a process engineer at the time, and I was working on this equipment, and not physically working on it. I was an owner of this equipment, and we would be responsible to make sure all the statistical charts are in control for particles or for parametric data or whatever it was. And we had this one particular problem that had uniformity issues across the wafer. Okay. And a wafer, by that I mean we have a bare silicon wafer that we, do different processes on this wafer and create microprocessors. And I own one particular part of that process. Okay. And we had very tight control limits at this one tool set. I mean, it was like the 13 angstroms, I think, was how tight our control limits were, which is super tight. And it was a uniformity, so it was the uniformity across the wafer, how even across the wafer this layer is. And this tool would pass some days and fail the next, and it would just be an intermittent problem. And I started troubleshooting this thing, and I would troubleshoot it, and a week later it would be back up, and then it would be back down the next week, and then the next month it would be back up, and the next month it'd be down. And I spent a ton of company money troubleshooting this tool, replacing RF generators and RF matcher control units and PC boards and magnets and you name it. I replaced a ton of parts on this tool. And fast forward to a year, I still got the same problem. And my manager is asking me, are you ever going to fix that tool? You can't keep it up more than a week at a time. And I had a PowerPoint document that was probably 300 pages long of all the stuff I've done, and I would go back and reread it and find out what I did. I repeated some of the stuff that I did because maybe I did it wrong before, but I never quit. I kept trying just to chip away at this problem, and eventually a light went on in my head, and I said, why don't I just start over from the beginning when this tool was first installed? And one of the first things they do is they level the entire tool to make sure that the tool is all level from whatever ground it's sitting on. So I literally grabbed a bubble level, and I went in there and I put a bubble level right on top of the chamber. Yeah. And lo and behold, it was high at the 10 o'clock position. Wow. And so I called the install team and I said, hey, can you guys come in here and re-level this tool? And they thought I was crazy because no one's ever asked them to re-level the tool. Once they said at the beginning, it never moves. But I was persistent, and I said, hey, just humor me. Just come in here and re-level the tool. I've been troubleshooting this thing for a year, and it's still having problems. If this doesn't fix it, I can move on, but I can't move on past this because I found a problem. And they level it, and that fixed this problem.
Wow.
And that was probably over 10 years ago. And my manager, I still see my manager today, and he comments on it probably once a year. He'll comment, hey, did you level the tool yet? Whenever I'm troubleshooting a problem, because he was really impressed that I never gave up on that. And,
Wow.
and I use that as my example because it was 10 years ago, but I still remember it as one of my.
Because you troubleshooted the tool for over a year.
Yeah.
Wow, that means never give up.
Yeah. So my real life example was in 2000. This is real personal to me, but I was diagnosed with a brain tumor in like late 2000, and I was having these headaches for like 8 months, and I finally I'm stubborn and in denial, so I didn't go to the doctor or anything. I just thought, oh, it's just a headache. I'm just working too much or something. And eventually I was like having vision issues, and my vision was getting blurry on the edge of my peripheral vision was getting blurry. And so I went to the doctor and I told them I'm having these headaches and my vision's starting to get messed up. And so they scheduled some MRIs for me, and they ended up finding a 25 millimeter size tumor next to my pituitary gland. And I don't know how much you know about brain tumors, but I didn't know anything except I don't know anybody that has a brain tumor and lived. So I'm hearing that, and I got my wife and my 2-year-old out in the waiting room, and my doctor tells me I have a brain tumor. And first thing going through my mind is, I'm gonna die. And my wife is not working, she's staying home raising the kid, and I'm not gonna see my kid grow up. And that was tough. You know, I get tears in my eye when I hear this news, but I went home and I'm sad, and my wife is sad, and I think I'm gonna die. And I went on the internet and I just started researching my type of tumor. It was called a craniopharyngioma. That was the type of tumor I had, and I researched it and I became an expert on craniopharyngiomas. I know more about brain tumors now than I ever thought I would. And I started researching it, and I found a support group online that deals specifically with pituitary tumors. And I reached out to that group, and it's a whole bunch of people that have gone through what I was going through at the time, that had already gone through it and had surgery and recovery. So I reached out to some of them, and I remember this one lady, she was probably in her 60s. She gave me her phone number. I called her up, and she told me, you know, I went through this and I'm alive. You're gonna be okay. And I know, and this is her talking, and I know a lot of other people that have gone through exactly what I'm going through. Look at this website. There's this whole forum that's dedicated to people that are going through what you're going through. And some have already had surgery and they're still alive, and you're gonna be fine. And so from that, I got more confidence, and I'm not gonna die. I'm gonna see my kid grow up. I just gotta find out who's gonna do this surgery. And so I started researching who's the best doctor in the country. And I worked for a good company that had, you know, luckily I had good insurance. And so I found, I interviewed like 6 different doctors, and I had a list of like 17 questions I asked them about, are you the best doctor in the country to perform this surgery? And if you're not, who is? I literally asked them that. And what's your death rate? And what's your success rate? And how many of these do you do per week, per month, per year? A ton of questions I would ask these guys. And I kept a positive attitude after talking to this support forum. And anyway, I had my surgery in February 2000, my 30th birthday. It was that month. I turned 30, and had 2 surgeries, and here I am alive today, 2019. I'm still alive. And I became an advocate and a support person for other patients. And so when other patients contact hospitals, sometimes the doctor will give them my name as a person they can call, and I can talk to them and say, hey, I went through what you're going through, and I was scared, and I thought I was gonna die, and here's what I did. And anyway, that's kind of my personal story of just not giving up and sticking with it.
And you know, the fact that they gave you that news that you had a brain tumor, and a lot of people would have probably given up, right? That you rather went on the internet, you read books, read so many things on the internet, you try to quickly educate yourself about, and then you make some networks and all that. You know, that's great. Which is why we know we are having this type of forum, so that way we can learn from people like you that have gone through stuff both in career and also even in real life, so that way when you have obstacles in front of you, you can transfer to see what you can do to scale over the obstacles. This is great, John. This is great. I'm glad you're alive.